The equation for calculating density is density equals mass over volume. Mass is usually measured in kilograms, volume is usually measured in meters cubed, so density is usually measured in kilograms per meter cubed. However, you can also measure density in other units, such as grams per centimetre cubed. So if we want to calculate the density of an object, we first need to measure its mass and its volume. To measure the mass of an object, we use a balance. To measure the volume of an object, the method depends on whether the object is a regular object, such as a cube or cuboid, or an irregular object. For a regular object, we can work out its volume by multiplying its length by its width and height. So if each side has a length of 4 centimetres, we could do length times width times height, which is 4 times 4 times 4, which gives us a volume of 64 centimetres cubed. For an irregular object, we can't use this method, so instead we use a method involving displacement of water. We fill a Eureka can with water up to the spout with a measuring cylinder ready. When we place the object into the water, some water will be displaced and flow out of the spout into the measuring cylinder. The volume of water displaced is equal to the volume of the object. So if we measure the volume of water in the measuring cylinder, for example 6 centimetres cubed, this will tell us the volume of the object. There is another way to do this. Take a measuring cylinder which has been partially filled with water. Place the object into the water, and some water will be displaced. So we can measure the increase in volume. This will tell you the volume of the object. It's easy to measure the volume of a liquid using a measuring cylinder, but you have to measure the mass a little differently. First, you use a balance to measure the mass of an empty measuring cylinder. You then press 0, and the balance will be set to 0 grams. Then add the liquid to the measuring cylinder, and the reading on the balance will tell you the mass of just the liquid. There's an alternative way to do this without zeroing the balance. You can find the mass of the measuring cylinder and the liquid, then subtract the mass of the empty cylinder to find the mass of just the liquid. Here are some practice questions for you to try. Pause the video and give them a go. The equation for density is density in kilograms per metre cubed is equal to mass in kilograms divided by volume in metres cubed. The equipment used to measure mass is a balance or a weighing scale. To measure the mass of a liquid, we place the measuring cylinder on a balance and press 0. We then add the liquid and re-measure the mass. Or we can find the mass of the measuring cylinder and the liquid and subtract the mass of the empty measuring cylinder. To calculate the volume of a regular object, we do length times width times height. Two pieces of equipment we use to measure the volume of an irregular object are a Eureka can and a measuring cylinder. To use these pieces of equipment to measure the volume of an irregular object, we would place the object in a Eureka can filled with water, then measure the volume of water that's displaced into a measuring cylinder. The volume of water displaced is equal to the volume of the object. Or we can place the object into a partially filled measuring cylinder and measure the volume of water that's displaced. This will be equal to the volume of the object.